And 3, 2, 1. And we're live. We're just going to give a few seconds here to let a few more folks join in. Coming up on 12:05. Kicking off in just a moment. All right, hey, let's begin. Welcome to Point A. I'm Coach Kieran Diorio. I help high-performing professionals accelerate their family happiness without sacrificing that business success. Today's part one of what kind of collaborator are you, especially when it comes to your most important team, your family. I'm going to take about 10 minutes today, first part of this series, to talk about collaborative structures as part of team intelligence or collective intelligence, which is really a huge indicator and a supporter of our effectiveness with our families. So we'll talk about that. I'll reinforce the importance of timing and planning when it comes to collaborative structures. And I'm going to ask you to consider how collaboration really occurs in your family and other key relationships. And hey, as always, I'm mainly after your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Please send those in as we go through today's materials. I'll be sure to prioritize those. So let's begin. And let me start by citing Dr. Anita Woolley from Carnegie Mellon University as a key source for some of the information I have here, and frankly, inspiration for this series for me. I had the pleasure of attending her workshop last week on collective intelligence and how it impacts team effectiveness. And it really got me thinking about collective intelligence. And today we'll talk about collaboration as part of it, but and how that really impacts our families. A little bit of background, Dr. Woolley's research here really started off in terms of looking into some big misses when it came from a Homeland Security standpoint, where certain agencies had information and couldn't or didn't effectively collaborate with other agencies. And unfortunately, some things that could have been prevented actually happened. So this kicked off a lot of research that she engaged in, and it really centered in on collective intelligence, or how teams collaborate, work, and eventually are successful or frankly fail based on their collective intelligence. So again, I started thinking about this as it relates to the family, and really got the wheels turning. So thank you, Dr. Woolley, for really hatching this in my mind. Let me start by saying there are many components of collective intelligence and team effectiveness, many components. I'd refer you to her as the authority there. But today I'm going to focus in on the way we work together, or the collaborative structure of our families, and how that can have an impact on our success or failure there. So we've all experienced and participated in different kinds of collaboration. Some work flawlessly, others, not so much. So some examples, it's getting nice here. I'm casting from the Pittsburgh area, and it's time to visit the local ice cream shops again. And that ice cream stand is very much a team. I don't know if it's just me, but it's really hard to find an ice cream stand that doesn't have a pretty long line in front of it. And if you've ever looked inside that stand, it's often not like a well-oiled Swiss watch inside there. There's a collaborative structure that's in place, and it doesn't really result in fast service. For example, you have that person slide the little window open, take our order. That same person then fills the order. They overfill the cup. They have to wipe the cup off. They bring us the order. They take our money. They give us the napkin and the paper bag and the plastic spoon. And yes, it's great to go to the ice cream stand, but it often leaves me thinking, boy, there has to be a better way to do this. And I'm not judging it. For all I know, the ice cream stand's goal might be to have a line in front of it. Maybe that's their goal. Maybe that's part of their marketing. So it might be serving their goal, but inside, things don't really always look very organized, for example. But let's be fair, because I just talked about a situation where we have one person functioning in a concierge role for us. Let's take any kind of training aside or whatnot. That may not work, may not result in the fastest service. But let's say you have a favorite restaurant, and you have a favorite waiter who really takes care of everything for you, soup to nuts, and they do a great job. They're not cooking your food, but they're the face of the organization or the team, and they really deliver, right? So that's an example where you have one person doing pretty much everything for us, but it's a very different experience, right? Maybe there's a different goal, right? Whether it's the restaurant's goal, or maybe it's my goal, taking in that kind of meal, it functions very differently. Or how about something in between? If you go with a lot of like big chain bistros, you'll have one person seat you, and then you'll have a wait person who takes your order, they check on you throughout the meal, and then they bookend the meal, and they wrap it up, take your bill and pay your bill and all that good stuff. So they're the one person, but in the middle there's this expediter who actually comes out of the kitchen and brings everybody their plates, right? So we have a different collaborative structure there. So my point here is there are different collaborative platforms. There are many different ways that teams integrate, and many different ways that they're interdependent on one another in the ways they accomplish their goals. So keep that in mind, and let's talk about types of collaboration or integration. First off, pooled collaboration. Think of a group project, maybe something you did at work recently, or maybe even something back in your college days, for example. There was a goal, you had a team, the project was broken up into different parts. Each individual takes a part of that project, then kind of all come together, the things like cut and pasted together, and then it's sent in as a complete project. So that's pooled collaboration, or pooled integration. A lot of individual efforts coming together and then turning in the final product, achieving that goal. We also have sequential integration or sequential collaboration. Dr. Woolley uses the example of the NFL. Think of our beloved Pittsburgh Steelers, where the defense does its job in the game, and then it turns the game over to the offense. There's a sequencing of effort there as the game is played out. And then the final form of collaborative platform would be reciprocal collaboration or integration. And I like to think of this as doubles tennis. It's a much smaller team, much smaller team, but each player is, at any given time, playing offense or defense, right? High degree of communication. There's a lot going on live between the members of that particular doubles tennis team, and they're working very closely in real time. So very, very tight, very, very integrated, very, very enmeshed or one with one another. So that'd be an example of reciprocal integration or reciprocal collaboration. I'm sharing these with you. Let's not get too hung up on it all, but let's all know that these structures all have advantages and disadvantages, right? They're all going to serve goals differently. They're all going to be very different but very valid ways of achieving goals. And I have a question coming in. It's a great question, and it goes right in the next part of the presentation, saying, "Hey, this sounds a lot like work. How does this relate to collaboration in families?" And let me reframe it a little bit. What's the best way to collaborate in a family? Let me take it in that direction. And let me start by saying, first off, being aware is crucial. A lot of times in our families, we think, hey, this is just our family. This is the way we do things, the way, a singular way of doing things. But the fact of the matter is, we're collaborating all the time as a family, whether it's an overarching goal for the family or an individual goal with a specific member of the family. Collaboration is happening all the time. And I would say you could be in a place where you are fighting a collaborative structure that's in place that you can actually change. So being aware of the fact that family involves a very high degree of collaboration is a very powerful thing. That's frankly where we start in terms of improving, optimizing, whatever we want to do with our families, for example. I'd also talk about the best way for collaboration is understanding the importance of timing. Dr. Woolley talked about some really interesting stat that about 60% of a team's performance, about the predictive ability of that team being successful, well over half of it was based on the work that the leader did in advance before anything happened before the team even started the work that was put in place. Now, again, there are many factors for collaborative structures, or many factors for collective intelligence, but that collaborative structure is certainly one of them. So knowing that timing is important for successful collaboration, even in a family, is a crucial thing. A quick example, my family did an escape room last week, and if the goal was solving the escape room in record time, we absolutely needed a different collaborative structure than the one we used, because ours was not as efficient. Now, fair is fair. Did we have a lot of laughs? Did we learn a lot of things? Yeah. So if the goal was enjoyment, the collaborative structure that we had was just fine. But if the goal was to solve this escape room as quickly as possible, we needed a different structure. And frankly, we needed to know that structure and have it in place before we started the escape room. Once we started, it was really hard to change because we were on the clock, for example. Other key points or best ways to collaborate in a family: understand the overall goal, or understanding the overall goal is crucial. In this month's blog, I share just a quick blurb on a client who's working very hard to change things at home. This is a very successful business person who has created a very efficient business, and a collaborative structure that supports efficiency in business is also in place at home, and that's okay. But it's the overriding collaborative structure, and frankly, it's so based on efficiency that's not leaving a lot of room for other things. So that client is working very hard on changing the collaborative structures in place when appropriate to achieve his goal of a more functional family situation. So overall goal is very important. And then I would say, getting really coachy here, your personal wiring. I'm big on setting energetic or feeling goals, knowing that as humans, all the things we want really translate into a feeling that we ultimately want. So for example, someone might want a high degree of success and the compensation that comes with it. And they might want that so they could send their kids to college and experience the joy of educating a child without a lot of debt, for example. Or maybe someone wants that bonus so they can buy a boat. And we think we want the boat, but what we really want is that feeling of being on that boat with our family, and the knowing that, man, my 8-year-old will remember the summer forever because this is the summer we did all the stuff on this boat. We want that feeling. The boat is secondary or tertiary. So setting an energetic or feeling goal is as important as anything else when it comes to my clients and my practice. And understanding those goals is crucial in terms of best collaborating with a family. A few more examples to, I work with folks who are dealing with tough family situations. And let's say we have a couple who's going through divorce. It's very common for people in divorce to set the intention to have a very integrated collaborative style. Okay. And they want to do that because they want to keep things as much as they were before the divorce as they are now. They want to have consistency in every way they can. So they'll use that reciprocal collaboration where they try to work really closely to create conditions that feel as much like the old days as possible. And that comes from a great place. What one partner or both partners might feel in time is, hey, working this closely is making me feel ways I don't want to feel. So at that point in time, it might be a good idea to change collaborative structure to something sequential or even something pooled, where both parents, for example, are working independently or sequentially. They're achieving the goal and they're not taking on some of the emotional strain that comes with a divorce. So again, an example of understanding your energetic or feeling goals in a family structure as one of the most powerful ways to collaborate. So hey, I'm out of time. Feedback was I talked too long last time, so I'm going to cut it off here at 15 minutes and wrap up part 1. of our series here, What Kind of Collaborator Are You? But I will leave you with a challenge. I'm going to ask you to really tap into your awareness here and think about how you collaborate in your family, and ask if this supports or is counter to your family goals. I'd ask you to think about that as we ramp up to next week's part 2 of this series. Think about what structures serve your family goals, given all you know about your team, right, your family, and which structures are getting in the way. Just like that ice cream stand, there's a line out front. Maybe there's a lot of happy outside, but how could things be better inside the stand? And I'll leave you with that challenge with my thanks. Again, I'm Coach Kieran Diorio. I help high performers have their family happiness accelerate and catch up with all that business success. I'm available for one-on-one coaching. Look me up at pointacoachingandconsulting.com or give me a call, 724-331-9263. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.